Herbert's 100 harem. Waking up with an alarm blaring is one thing. Waking up in the middle of a massive cuddle pile you have to wriggle out of to answer an alarm as the pile starts moving all over the place. And a large percentage of it are hard edges and deadly points is quite another. Some of the girls also untangle themselves, and with about 20 of them he finds his way outside the large shared sleeping den. "What's going on?" he asks one of the Ikiata rushing by. "Pirates! Very bad. They were laying in wait at the edge of the system and had scramblers and magnetic clamps. They say they have a bomb on the outside of the ship," she tells him, and his eyes widen. "Ah, killing time then," Herbert notes as he cracks his neck. "Come on. Teeth and nails are all well and good, but a proper knife or a gun makes murder much easier." As they move to the nearby armory, Herbert gets on his communicator and links up the other Undaunted on the ship. "Hey, this is Agent Jameson. I've been informed of pirates and a possible bomb threat. What's your sit rep?" "Preparing for a spacewalk. We've confirmed the existence of the bomb above the central power core and we're going to disarm it. We need the ship on top of us to be well and thoroughly distracted, and we can't do it as the IKEA outright started hyperventilating when we suggested one of them go outside to get the bomb off." One of the men stated, "I'm a munitions expert, and with Gregorio and Huang watching my back, I should be able to do this easily enough. But I'll need you, the girls and the crew, to keep the pirates looking the wrong way." 10-4. "I'll teach these idiots the meaning of fear." Herbert answers and hangs up before he leads the girls with him to the nearest armory. It takes him 5 minutes to re-emerge both armed and armored. He's not going out as silent. He's going out as a one-man army that just happens to be on the young side. Hence, the big blue coat and boots to hide the sheer amount of armor on him, as well as a pair of bandoliers, and even a short sword for a close-in fight. Don't forget lasers and plasma. Gutting an opponent works, but if they're out of reach, then you need to be able to reach out and touch them, Herbert says, and Balvana looks nervous. "You can hunker down with the others if you want. You don't have to fight people." "No, I mean, this is just the first time I've done this. There isn't any other problem," she assures him even as she starts to fade out of sight. Herbert nods in response even as he gives his rifle a quick check and then nods. "All right, let's get moving." It takes no less than 5 minutes to reach the entry point. Whatever ship was attacking their vessel, this one was entering via one of the major entry bays. Those are easily wide enough for mechanized troopers to tromp through, which will be an issue but not something that Herbert can't deal with. A simple paint grenade could completely blind a standard sensor system, and if it was a nastier paint type, then the suits would automatically seal and not let the pilot out to try and eyeball things. Sometimes, safety features are the biggest danger. "Hey, little guy's ready to rock," Victory notes as Herbert arrives at the entry bay. In the distance, they can see a massive platform extending from the other ship and the forces already arrayed on it. Mechanized walkers. "Hello, gentlemen. Looks like our guests are bringing armor to the party. What are the plans?" Herbert asks. "Plasma flares rods, pummel knuckles, and good old-fashioned plasma. What about you?" David asks, and Herbert holds up his paint grenades. Explosives are a bad idea in a pressurized environment. "It's bad enough for us to have a bomb on the outside of the ship, let alone inside," Mojo adds. "These are paint grenades. They'll blind our enemies and trick their atmospheric sensors into thinking they're in a highly toxic environment, meaning the only way they're going to be able to see us is if they hit the emergency evac on the walkers, and that screws up the machine's fighting abilities something fierce." Herbert explains, and David smiles with a nod. "Good idea. Pass them around and we'll have the area soaked with them in short order. 5-second countdown after you tear out the tab. Do not be holding it when it goes off. The paint is non-toxic by human standards, but that means you'll be coughing up your guts if you swallow any, and having it on your skin for too long will give you a bastard of a rash." Herbert explains as he passes out the grenades. 2 each among the IKEA men and 4 for himself. Hey, why'd you guys bring a bomb expert on the trip anyways? Were you expecting this kind of trouble? Victory asks, and Herbert shakes his head. Everyone's got some kind of specialization. Beyond things like stealth agents, mechanics, or professionals, we have everyone trained in a few combat styles. Demolitionists are one of them. They're bomb experts. We also have snipers who attack from very far away, close-range shotgunners and heavy weapon boys who bring in the really mean hardware. Before I lost a few 100 pounds in Rejuve, I was a heavy weapons guy. Herbert remarks before chuckling. Now I'm more of an all-rounder. We all have our gifts. Thank you for the grenades. Mojo notes as the 4 of them start waiting for things to start, and then Herbert sighs. Girls, get into the maintenance tunnels, please. You're ambush attackers, hit from a hidden place, Herbert says, and thankfully that snaps the girls out of their reveries. In moments it seems to only be the 4 of them and mini-tanks, Herbert asks as a small squadron of armored vehicles with open backs, mounted by IKEA tall women, wheel around the corner and take up firing positions. Low grade. They're as good as mech armor in a face-to-face fight, not as mobile though and less weapon choice. David remarks, and Herbert nods as he notes that they're mostly laser-class weapons. He suspects they're actually ablaters so as to be of use in a firefight without possibly cracking open a hole in the hull. "Oh yeah, this is gonna be so much fun," Victory gushes even as the thump of the pathway locks in with their ship. "How long's it been since we had a decent brawl?" "Too long," Mojo notes. "Just don't let your excitement cloud your skill, Vic." David chides him and the doors start to open. The girls grip their controls and focus even as all 4 men prime and then throw their grenades. 3 of them sail in without an issue, but Herbert's barely makes it. "Need to work on the arm strength, little buddy," Victory says. "I wanted to get the ones at the front." Herbert counters, and there's already shouts of dismay as the doors slowly open further to reveal the mechs are covered in fluorescent orange paint and trying to scrape the quick-drying paint off their cameras and sensors. "Let 'em have it, ladies," David commands, and the small platoon of mini-tanks open fire with yellow-tinged ablator beams that start melting into the enemy mechs. "Well done! Now, who wants to hijack their ship?" Herbert calls out loudly and clearly. "Ah, yay! Let's do it!" Victory cheers out at the thought. "Not how I expected to earn a home ship, but it'll do," David says with a grin. "Time to work," Mojo remarks as he hefts his plasma caster. "Remember, I keep them in cover. David keeps them off their feet and Victory peels them open." "I'll watch your back then. Make sure things go smooth as silk," Herbert says, and all 3 IKEA nod. "Hold the fort, ladies. We're cleaning house." Daniel bids the assembled tank operators and whoever's watching over the security feed. "Hunting time, girls," Herbert calls out, and the maintenance panels open up to reveal tiny shimmers that rush into the enemy ship. "Only hit them if they can't hit back. I don't want any of you getting hurt." God, I hope they listen. This was supposed to be a vacation, not a funeral. Herbert comments under his breath, "Don't worry. I'm going to make sure they get out safe and sound." The air around them says as Hunt's mistress Yzma begins to prowl. "I didn't even sense her," Victory notes. "She's a grand mistress of the craft, older than most languages. It would be impressive if you could," Herbert remarks before smirking. "Anyways, let's see about getting a new ship. So what's the salvage rights going on this? We're contractors working for your military, so it goes to you and yours by law, doesn't it?" David asks as they advance through the melted solid mechs and into the enemy ship proper. The axiom tells Herbert that the pilots are still alive. It's just that the joints and motor function of the weapons are totally fucked, and so are the actual munitions and arms of the walking tanks. The girls did good work. Herbert's communicator goes off even as they enter the enemy ship proper and take defensive positions, so they can push first to the engines and then the bridge. Agent Jameson, Herbert answers immediately. We've reached the bomb. This is going to take a bit. Its control mechanism is slapdash and its payload is gigantic. They'll core the ship if they set this sucker off. All right. Do you want us to play more distraction or more, kill anyone that might set it off? Herbert asks somewhat nervously. A bomb that powerful is no joke, especially in space where diffusing the heat is a bitch and a half. Do both. There's no telling what might set this off, so we need to get cutting. Radio silence until we have results one way or the other. Specialist Yarrick out. The demolitionist says, and Herbert lets out a sigh. They got to the bomb, but it's huge. We need to buy them as much time as we can, or they'll make 2 ships out of our one. Herbert relays to the rest. Not exactly what he said, but close enough. Moho notes. Oh, sorry, I didn't know your ears were that good. Herbert apologizes. Hey, nothing to worry about. Besides, we know what to do. Let's rock, Victory declares before rushing forward. Is he that eager to have a battle scar? Herbert asks, and Mojo snorts in amusement. He's not that dumb. He's being bait. David replies. He's the dodgiest of us all. I've seen him limbo under lasers. Maybe, but he's also got all of nothing for armor. If you guys sign up for the Undaunted, we have a special Axiom brand that works like armor. It should save his tail if he keeps going out in front. Still pitching? David asks with a wry grin. You miss every shot you don't take, so you may as well take them all and see if you land one. Herbert answers glibly, and there's an amused snort from Mojo. True enough. Now let's make sure our pale friend keeps his tail until he can get that little marker. David remarks as they slink after Victory, who's all but doing a dance, one that has him moving all over the place until a laser blasts by him, missing completely and exposing a hidden position. Mojo immediately lets out a flurry of plasma at that direction, and there's a scream of shock as whoever it is was clearly nearly cooked. But before they can pop up, there's a brutal smash to knock a cloaked mecha walker into view, and Victory drops a flare on it. The outer shell goes red hot and then runny before quickly cooling as a useless chunk of metal. David gives out a soft chuckle and taps on it with his armored hand and gestures for the rest to follow him. The hell are those flares made of? Herbert asks as he passes by the now thoroughly immobilized Mecha. He raps on the side with a knuckle, and it's not only cool but outright cold. A single little torch the size of a cigarette had just flash fried, then flash froze an entire war machine. The good stuff, little guy. The good stuff, Victory assures him, and Herbert rolls his eyes before stopping as he senses something. He rips out a paint grenade. Hit the deck! He shouts and hurls it hard past the IKEA men. It detonates and unveils 3 mecha that were lying in ambush under cloaking. Catch! Victory exclaims, throwing flares onto each of them that stick onto the rapidly drying paint and quickly cook, then cool the machines. Hey, nice! That worked awesome! Good instincts, Mojo compliments him.